Christe Masse, which is the Christ Mass, also called the Feast of the Nativity. This all eventually led to the changing of the bishop's name to Santa Claus, because saint in Spanish or Latin languages is Santa. You know that, right? If you go out to Los Angeles, you can see Santa Monica, Santa Maria, Saint Mary, Santa Maria. Santa means saint. Santa means holy. As it worked its way through Nordic languages, Niklas was spelled like that, Santa Niklas. So Santa or Saint Niklas, over time, as it moved through the Nordic into the English languages, became Claus, Santa Claus, and you can see from there it's an easy jump to Santa Claus. It all refers back to Saint Nick. The real Saint Nicholas was Bishop of Asia Minor, the seaport city of Myra in the 4th century, and he attended the first great ecumenical council in Nicaea. He was the patron of sailors, of children, and of Russia, among others. Prior to being a bishop, this saint was, of course, a priest. He became a priest around the age of 19. Until about the 1800s, he, as Santa Claus, was portrayed as a tall, thin, stately man who wore bishop's robes and rode a white horse. Until 1809, when Washington Irving, 1783 to 1859, depicted him a bit differently in the book Knickerbocker's History of New York. In this poem, Irving represented him as a jolly man who wore a broadly brimmed hat and huge breeches and smoked a long pipe. He rode over the treetops in a wagon and filled children's stockings with presents. This portrayal of Santa Claus continued for more than 13 years, and then around 1822, a man named Clement Clark Moore, 1779 to 1863, an educator and an Episcopal clergyman, wrote the now famous poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." The original title of it was called A Visit from St. Nicholas. In this poem, he wrote about Santa Claus appearing as a stout, jolly man with twinkling eyes and a red nose and a red suit, trimmed with white fur, and he rides in a sleigh being pulled by reindeer. Professor John Lynch writes, his cult and the representation in art achieved its greatest popularity in the Middle Ages, and in England alone, more than 400 churches are now named after Santa Claus, St. Nicholas. Here's a picture that I printed out that I'll leave up here. Y'all can come look at it if you want. This is an original rendering of what Santa Claus looked like a night before Christmas, when suddenly he became a jolly fat man in a red suit. And a couple of the characteristics I want you to see immediately. This picture shows what Santa appeared like prior to the 1800s. Note that he's dressed in a red cape and that he appears to be a Catholic bishop, more than the jolly old elf that brings children presents. Notice all the missing white trim around the edge of his clothing and his hat, and also notice that he is wearing a gown underneath his robe. If compared to pictures of Nimrod in mythology, we find both have long beards and ornate dress. Nimrod either carries a tiny deer or has a spotted deerskin robe. In this picture, he has a small deer with him, the origin of the notion that he is pulled by reindeer when he comes to your house. He carries a tree branch in the other hand. Nimrod is also pictured often to have wings, giving him the power to fly through the air. And as you can see from this picture circa 1800s of Santa, of St. Nick, he's wearing Catholic robes as a cardinal in the church. That's who supposedly is coming into your house every week. And yet, it just astounds me that supposedly Protestant people who would say, we are Protestant, we're not Catholic, will take all of these things that the Catholic Church took from Babylonish mystery religion and imposed onto the birth of Christ, and the supposedly Protestant Church has embraced them all and said, oh, we're fine with that. And even call him Saint Nick. Does the Protestant Church saint people? No, of course not. Who does that? Well, the Catholic Church. But we're Protestant. Kris Kringle, another name for Santa Claus, developed in Germany around 1600. German Protestants recognized December 25th, the birth of the Christ child, called the Christkindl. As a time to give gifts, Christkindl evolved into the name Kris Kringle. And so that became another name for Santa Claus. They're all tied together. In the Netherlands and Germany, the Santa Claus figure often rode through the sky on a horse to deliver presents to children. He often wore a bishop's robes and was sometimes accompanied by Black Peter, an elf who would whip the naughty children.
You can see why they got
I'll take cold.
Exactly. Completely politically incorrect by the time it got to America. We must rid ourselves of Black Peter, who whips children. Why do you think the common concept is that Santa leaves black coal? It's just we'll get rid of Black Peter and we'll leave black coal behind for bad kids.
Yeah, switches and ashes.
Switches and ashes. Oh, yeah. Some of Santa Claus' characteristics date back many centuries. For instance, the belief that Santa enters the house through the chimney developed from an old Norse legend. And the Norse believed that the goddess Hertha appeared in the fireplace and brought good luck to your home. So again, just take all the traditions, put them in a big pile, shake them all up, dump them out, however they come out. That's us, we believe it, let's go. But we're Christians, and Protestant Christians at that.
So is God matters? James' question. Are we doomed now?
Yeah, I've already talked about mistletoe. I'll skip it. I'll make these notes available to anybody who wants them, and you can study them for yourself. I have a thing in here on nativity scenes. You didn't see nativity scenes before 1223. St. Francis of Assisi was the first guy to decide he wanted a living nativity scene. You don't see that for the first 1,200 years of the church. And let me wrap up by reading something that I found in Hinduism Today. Yes, that's right. Hinduism Today, December 24th, 2003. I've read a rabbi. I've read from an encyclopedia. I'm now going to read from the Hindus. My point is this. The rest of the world that is not Christian, whether it's because they're agnostic or whether it's because they believe something else, all understand that the Christian church has embraced a completely ancient pagan concept and that they have imposed it onto the birth of their Messiah. And they get that. And they see the foolishness of it. And when they want to write against Christianity, it's real easy for them to say, look at how foolish the Christians are. They don't even know their own history. They don't even know that they're worshiping an ancient sun god and claiming that it's the birth of their Jesus when there's no way that Jesus could have been born that day. The world is not stupid, and the anti-Christian world is not stupid, and they do get how stupid it is that Christianity has embraced the Christ Mass. There's a controversial statement, but there you go. Hinduism Today. This interesting piece on the origins of Christmas appeared in the Religion News Service and is written by Ivan Betau, something like that. Did you know that Alabama was the first state to declare Christmas an official holiday? That happened in 1836, 71 years before the last state, Oklahoma, followed suit in 1907. Christmas is the only legal national religious holiday in the United States. While it has been less than 100 years since all 50 states recognized Christmas as an official holiday, December 25th has been celebrated for centuries by Christians as Jesus' birthday. But until 245 AD, when a group of scholars tried to determine the date of Christmas, the question had never been addressed. According to a 1995 article by Victor M. Perichin in the Christian Reader, however, the project by the early church theologians to determine the date of his birth was denounced by a church council which thought it was wrong to celebrate Jesus' birthday, quote, as though he were a king or pharaoh, unquote. That didn't prevent the scholar theologians from continuing their quest to determine the day Jesus was born. They originally listed 4 dates, January 1st, January 6th, March 25th, and May 20th as possibilities, according to Perichin's research. It wasn't until 349 AD that December 25th was formally chosen as Christmas Day by Pope Julius. The date was already celebrated as the Natalis Soli Invicti, in honor of the sun god Mithras, by the Roman citizens. They decorated their homes in greenery, they exchanged gifts, and they gathered for festive meals on that date, observed just after the winter solstice. Many scholars believe that Pope Julius picked December 25th as Christmas Day to convert the followers of Mithra to Christianity, in addition to providing Christians with an opportunity to celebrate Jesus' birth. Christmas continued, however, to be a contentious issue. In the 17th century England and early America, English Puritans said the Bible offered no clear basis for celebrating Jesus' birth. In 1643, the English Parliament outlawed not only Christmas, but Easter and other Christian celebrations. But by 1660...